Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this open information session for the Yenching Academy of Peking University. We're having a specific regional focus on potential applicants from Africa. So for those of you who are joining us this afternoon, China time, I'd like to express my appreciation for your interest in our program. And I hope that today's overview of Yenching Academy, as well as some sharing from two of our students, from the region will give you some good food for thought to think about whether you'd like to apply, and if you decide you want to apply, to give you some strategies to help you be successful in doing so. Let me go ahead and share my screen for you. Okay. Can everyone see my PowerPoint? Maybe not. Yes, okay, good. Wonderful. Well, let me get started. So, my name is Brent Haas. I'm Associate Dean, Distinguished Associate Professor, and the Director of Admissions here at Yenching Academy. I am dialing in today from Chengdu, the capital of Sichuan province in southwestern China. Normally, I'd be doing this from my office in Beijing, but we just so happen to be on our field study course, taking first year Yenching scholars down to Chongqing municipality and around Chengdu, and now we're on the second to last day of our trip. We've been visiting high-tech zones, different companies, museums where the Nationalist Party, Chiang Kai-shek, and the Nationalist Party led the resistance during 1939 or so to 1945 during World War II. We've gone to archaeological excavations, etc. So it's been a very intense but rewarding academic travel experience for our students. But it's my pleasure to join you online to tell you a little bit about our program. We should start off by saying that we're proudly a part of Peking University, China's oldest institution of higher education, and we certainly think China's best institution of higher education. PKU was founded in 1898 as the Imperial University of Peking. So it has a very outsized influence not only on the history of modern education in China, but also on Chinese history itself. Peking University is an absolutely beautiful place to live, to work, and study. Part of the reason is that a major section of our campus used to be part of an imperial summer palace complex built during the last imperial dynasty in Chinese history, the Qing dynasty. So you have scenes like this that you can see all around our campus. It is a historically and culturally significant place to study, not only just being a beautiful place to study. Jingyuan Courtyard is a historically important part of Peking University's campus. It's in the sort of central western area of our campus. It is the center of academic life at the Yenching Academy. Our administration building is in Jingyuan Courtyard number 3. And our teaching building, you can see one of the classrooms there in the center, is in Jingyuan Courtyard 4. These buildings were built in the late 1920s and early 1930s as part of a previous university that was on the campus that Peking University took over in 1952. And the cat that you see here on the left, Fengzhua, is actually one of the 3 cats that live in our Jingyuan Courtyard 3. One of the most popular and active Peking University student clubs is devoted to caring for the many, many semi-wild cats that live all throughout our campus. Fengzhua and 2 others have made Yenching Academy's buildings their home. PKU has just under 13,000 faculty members that are separated into 55 different schools and departments. These faculty, along with the professional administrative staff at PKU, serve around 50,000 students, including about 2,500 international students. And we're very happy and really fortunate to be highly integrated into Peking University's Humanities and Social Sciences. So what is the Yenching Academy? Simply put, we are a 2-year, fully funded master's program that focuses on interdisciplinary teaching and research methodology within the field of China studies. I've been running the admissions process for the last several years. And I personally attest that those who join our program as Yenching scholars are truly outstanding, interesting, diverse young people from all over the world. And we're part of a process that, for my own academic interest, I find to be really important and quite interesting. And this is the process of defining what China studies means when it's done in China at the top university, taught by Chinese faculty. Because if you look at how China has been studied around the world from Matteo Ricci and the Jesuits in the late 16th through the 17th and 18th century, from English consuls or missionaries who become great linguists in Chinese and then become chairs of Chinese language at Oxford or Cambridge, or from, say, area studies developed in the middle of the 20th century, most notably at Harvard University and John King Fairbank. One of the key through lines in this very diverse and complex history of an academic area of inquiry is distance. It's studying China from the outside. And so at Yenching Academy, we tried to remove distance from that equation by bringing you to China's top university to conduct your graduate level study. And this last talking point here, catalyst for international dialogue, that might sound like we're laying it on a little bit thick there, but it's actually quite true. Because you'll have people from all over the world, different political systems, cultural backgrounds, religious belief, linguistic skills, all interested in China, taking classes together, living together at Peking University. And so whether you're in the classroom or in the dormitory or just hanging out on campus, there is a lot of opportunities for cross-cultural dialogue. It's always rewarding. It can sometimes be challenging, but certainly worth engaging in. So the language of instruction and administration at Yenching Academy is English. No prior proficiency or fluency in the Chinese language is required for application. Now, since we are a highly competitive graduate program that focuses on China, if you have taken Chinese language courses, if you have a major in something related to China, if you've traveled or studied in China, or have some research background related to China, please emphasize that in your application package. It's not a requirement for application, but it can potentially be a competitive advantage. Let's talk funding, because it is very, very difficult to find a fully funded master's program. And we try to solve that problem for you by offering the generous Yenching Fellowship. All Yenching scholars will receive full tuition covered, accommodation for both years of the program. Year one will definitely be in the Yenching Academy House, a nicely renovated dormitory just for Yenching scholars. Year two can be in the Yenching Academy House, or it can also be off campus. And if you choose to live off campus in an apartment, we will offer you a housing stipend that should be sufficient to pay for a private room in a shared apartment, but not really enough for your own individual apartment. Rent in Beijing is no longer cheap. We also offer you a monthly stipend of 3,000 renminbi per month. That's going to be roughly 500 US dollars. We offer round trip travel one time from your home base to Beijing and then back after you graduate. Although it is possible, if you need to go home or want to go back for a visit at the end of your first academic year, we will cover that trip back for you, but you're responsible for getting yourself back to Beijing for year two. We also offer basic medical insurance. This is a medical insurance specifically designed for international students living and studying in China. If you have other medical insurance coverage, I recommend that you keep that active while you're here. No need to cancel your other medical insurance, but this medical insurance will be useful and helpful for minor to sort of medium level ailments. But again, keep your other coverage if you have such coverage. Now, we have many other funding opportunities in both years 1 and 2 at Yenching Academy. In the first year, we have the Dean's Research Grant. It's a competitively offered research fellowship for extracurricular individual or small group research projects. You write a well thought out research proposal, and if we think it makes an academic contribution and is feasible, we will fund it. After your first year, we offer opportunity grants. After the summer after your first year and into the second year, let's say you're going to attend an academic conference and present a paper, then we will make that, we will help fund at least part of your expenses to go do so. We have exchange relationships with Cornell University, Seoul National University, Waseda, et cetera. And you also have access to Peking University's exchange relationships all around the world. And if you want to continue studying more intensive Chinese in your second year, we also offer the Language Enrichment Fellowship for intensive Chinese study in year 2. And you can apply for positions like a teaching assistantship, a residential assistantship, etc., a way to contribute to the academy in a different manner and get some more cash in your pocket in year 2. Okay, this is a really important slide. You know, these 6 research areas are how we at Yenching Academy are fitting interdisciplinary China studies into the system of academic degrees that are already recognized by China's Ministry of Education. These 6 research areas will be important to you in 3 ways. First, when you apply, you must choose one of these areas to focus on. Secondly, when you choose a thesis advisor at the end of your first academic year, that thesis advisor must come from a department or school within one of the research areas that you've chosen. And then when you graduate, this is what will show up on your master's diploma. It will say Peking University, Master of Economics. Just below that, China Studies Economics and Management. Peking University, Master of History. Just below that, China Studies History and Archaeology. So let's talk for a minute about the application stage. You know, graduate school is an intense, challenging, but really rewarding process. You should be studying what you're interested in, something that you're passionate about. But you also need to realize that you're coming to China's top university as a Yenching scholar to learn at the graduate level and to conduct research at the graduate level. Therefore, you do need to have fundamental knowledge in the field to which you're applying. So for instance, if you're applying to economics and management, but you don't have an economics degree, that can be okay. I'm not saying you can only apply to the research area that you already have a degree in or will soon have a degree in. But if you're applying to economics and management and you don't have a degree in that, we're just going to look at your academic transcript, the courses you've taken, and ask ourselves, have they taken microeconomics, macroeconomics, statistical analysis, etc. You know, so if you maybe studied literature in undergraduate or in your bachelor's program, then it obviously makes sense that you could apply to literature and culture. But there are other things you could apply to, potentially to philosophy and religion, potentially to history and archaeology. Let's say you were doing a more historical look at Chinese literature. So I want to encourage you to apply for what you're interested in, but understand that we do also have a responsibility to review your academic credentials and the courses you've taken, the research you've done, the jobs you have, with an eye to assessing that you can be successful at the graduate level. If you have any questions about that, we can talk more about that in the Q&A section. Here is the core curriculum that all Yenching scholars take in their first year. And I need to emphasize that all coursework is completed in your first year. The second year is devoted to perhaps internships, to designing and carrying out your research project, to analyzing your data, writing your master's thesis, and defending it at the end of year 2. China in Transition 1 and 2, Field Study, the course that we're on right now in Sichuan Province. Topics in China Studies lecture series, and academic writing seminar. These are the 4 courses that all Yenching scholars must take together. International Yenching scholars have to take Chinese language as well, unless you have already passed the HSK level 6. The HSK, for those who don't know, is mainland China's standardized test for assessing Chinese language proficiency in non-native learners. If you pass the HSK level 6, you can apply to place out of the required Chinese as a second language course. If you do so, however, you still need to fulfill the minimum number of academic credits in the first year, and we encourage you to do so by taking at least one content course taught in Chinese in another department or school at Peking University. It's a really exciting opportunity, but it's also a very big challenge. I'd like to highlight China in Transition 1 and 2 for a minute. So China in Transition is our flagship program, or pardon me, our flagship course. It's an interdisciplinary look at contemporary China. The first semester is taught by 12 to 15 leading Peking University professors in different departments and schools. There'll be a module on the Chinese economy, Chinese society, Chinese political system, etc. The spring semester, however, you choose a course, a section of China in Transition, Part 2, taught by one of the faculty members who co-taught the course in the fall. That faculty member We'll give you a more academic discipline look at contemporary China. Maybe you choose to take a course with a sociologist, and they'll talk about sociology of contemporary China. But that course also builds up to a faculty-led independent field research project that all Yenching scholars will complete by the end of China in Transition Part 2. The goal of this course is to give you on-the-ground field research experience in the PRC before you even start working on your master's thesis. These next two slides show us the elective courses that are on offer at Yenching Academy in 2023 to 2024, so this academic year. Next year's will probably be fairly similar, though there might be some adjustments. This slide shows you the social sciences and economics concentration related courses. I want to emphasize, however, that you can take any elective course you want. You are not restricted to only taking electives in the research area you've chosen. We are an interdisciplinary program. We want you to learn across academic disciplines. And you'll also notice that unless otherwise noted on this sheet, these courses are taught in English. Only rural China studies, and Chinese politics and historical perspective are taught in Chinese. These are the courses that are on offer and broadly defined the humanities. If you're interested, I teach history of the field, sinology, and China studies from a global perspective in the fall semester, and then I teach a modern Chinese history seminar in the spring semester. You'll also notice that there are fewer courses in the humanities than there are in the social sciences and economics. That's simply because the majority of Yenching scholars apply to politics and international relations, economics and management, or law and society. So we have increased our course offerings to meet their needs. Most Yenching scholars will have two different academic advisors in year 1 and then in year 2 during their course of study with us. First year, you have a faculty advisor who's essentially there to learn about your developing research interests, advise you on which classes to take, and sort of introduce you to the academic and faculty community at Peking University. Now, it's possible that your first year faculty advisor will become your second year thesis advisor, but it's not required. Perhaps this first year faculty advisor isn't the perfect person to guide you in your developing research project for year 2, but in all likelihood, this faculty advisor will know the right person. So one of the things they do is introduce you to other faculty members and sometimes even bring you as a graduate student researcher into some of their own projects that they're working on. That's also a very exciting opportunity. Here you can see we have over 140 professors at Peking University who are potential academic advisors for Yenching scholars. That means they have advised scholars in the past, or they currently are advising Yenching scholars' theses, or they have expressed a willingness to do so. So this just shows how deeply connected we are to humanities and social sciences at Peking University. Here are a couple of shots from the fall field study, the trip and course that we're on right now. You know, it is a fun travel experience. We're in Sichuan province, so yes, we do go see the pandas. Yes, you do eat hot pot and famous Sichuan spicy cuisine, but it's also a required academic course. There are assigned readings before departure, lectures before departure and during the trip, and then field study events that include site visits, visits to companies, interviews with government officials, learning from top academics in the region, etc. In this photo here, it was from a couple of years ago, I believe. This is us. This is us at Dujiangyan, a 2,000. Let me think. Yeah, a 2,000 plus year old irrigation system built in roughly 100 BCE, I believe. That has helped make the Sichuan and Chengdu Plain such a fertile and productive agricultural region. Remember the China in Transition Part 2, the field study, the field research component. You can see here in 2023, we had 34 different groups of students visit 18 areas around China as part of their field research in the second semester of China in Transitions course. Obviously, from 2020 through 2022, we had to curtail the amount of field research activities our students are doing because of COVID-related travel restrictions, not only into China, but also around China. But I'm happy to say that that is all in the past. We have a full class of Yenching scholars who came to join our program at the beginning of the fall semester, and we are fully offline and doing everything in person. There's going to be so much going on outside of the classroom at Yenching Academy in sort of the extracurricular activities area that you're really not going to be able to do everything. You shouldn't try to do everything. Pick and choose, be strategic. But the Yenching Global Symposium is our flagship extracurricular event. It is an international China Studies conference conceptualized and organized by Yenching scholars themselves. You can see the themes here of the first 6 Yenching Global Symposia. And last year, or this calendar year, but last academic year, in April of 2023, we took Yenching scholars down to Hainan, an island province in southeastern China, to increase our field research activities for them. Humanity, cartographies of collaboration was the theme that was designed by Yenching scholars. And in the Yenching Global Symposium, we bring keynote speakers, paper presenters for speeches, discussion, colloquia, and bring in over 100 young people, generally at the student level or early career level, as delegates to join YGS. This is something that if you choose, you can apply to be a part of the Yenching Global Symposium Executive Committee. It is a very, very big commitment, but it's something that a lot of students who engage in it find very rewarding. So we've been active now for 9 years. Coming up in May of 2024 will be our 10th anniversary. And in those 9 cohorts of Yenching scholars, we brought just under 1,000 students to study with us. These 1,000 students come from 82 different countries and regions around the world. You can see the nations that in Africa that have placed students into our program over these first 9 cohorts. We're about 40% from Asia, and that includes 27 mainland Chinese scholars every year, about a quarter from Europe, just over a quarter from North America, about 5% from Latin America, and 4% from Africa. Obviously, we have some work to do to increase our enrollments from the African continent, and that's part of the reason why we're doing this regionally specified online information session today. I'll also planning a trip to Africa to connect with major universities on the continent and with those scholars who are interested in or researching about China there. So maybe I'll see you in the spring. These are the universities that over the first 9 cohorts of Yenching scholars have placed the highest number of graduates into our program. Now, you do not have to be from one of these universities to get into the program. These are just the schools that have had the highest success rate sending graduates to us. Most Yenching scholars have a bachelor's degree. Many of them apply in the final year of their university learning experience and come directly to us after they graduate. But every year we have somewhere between 15 to maybe even as high as 20-25% of incoming Yenching scholars who have other postgraduate degrees. This might be a master's degree, a law degree, an MBA, what have you. I think when we have students who come with a previous master's degree, in most cases, it's sort of the UK or European university model where it's a 3-year bachelor program and a 1-year MA. But we do sometimes get students who complete the 4-year bachelor's and another 2-year MA and then decide to come to YCA. And here you can see the breakdown of the research areas that Yenching scholars have chosen over our first 9 cohorts. Politics and international relations is the most popular. Economics and management is a close second. Law and society comes in at third with about 15%. And then the humanities added together are about 20%. Now, this isn't planned. This is not a quota a target that we're looking for. This simply reflects what the best applicants in any given year chose to focus on at YCA. You won't be either advantaged or disadvantaged by picking one research area over another, except you should pick a research area that makes sense with your academic background, your personal and professional experiences, and where you want to go. Pick the right one for you. You don't need to think about whether, you have a better chance of getting in with economics and management or law and society. So we've had 39 scholars from Africa join us in our first 9 cohorts. You can see in 2019, we had 8 African scholars join us. Again, we have work to do. We really want to improve our enrollments from the continent, but hopefully that will be including some of you next year. You can also see the research concentrations that scholars from Africa have chosen. More or less follows the same pattern. You know, there's a little bit fewer law and society, more in politics and international relations than overall. The scholars from Africa who've joined our program have come from these 15 universities. I'm not sure if your university is on this. Again, you don't have to be from one of these universities to get into our program. And at YCA, we bring in some world-leading figures to come and give lectures and interact with Yenching scholars. Most recently, we had the former Prime Minister of France, Jean-Pierre Raffarin, who's just been named as the Shu Xuqi Distinguished Chair Professor at Yenching Academy. He's going to be giving us and organizing a series of lectures and talks over the course of the year on global affairs and leadership. Some will be taught by him, others will be people in his orbit, people in his sort of network of connections. As a response to feedback from Yenching scholars saying they wanted more career training, we've been emphasizing that in our extracurricular activities through our student affairs office. I think the best example of this is we have a professional mentorship program now at YCA, where we have about 15 or so leading figures in different fields, all based in Beijing, but not necessarily Chinese. They come and introduce themselves, and then you can sign up and sort of apply to be their mentee. The mentor-mentee relationship could take any number of forms. It could be individual chats, advice on how to break into the field that they're in, or it could be even things like shadowing them professionally for a couple of days on the job. It's a wonderful wonderful opportunity. You know, we had people who are involved in cultural and historical preservation. The leading China economist for the World Bank based in Beijing is one of our mentors. People who've started charitable foundations that now focus on overseas disaster relief, people in the tech space, public affairs, you name it. After graduation, Yenching scholars are very successful, moving on to the next step in their careers. About 20% roughly of Yenching scholars go on to further graduate education, generally at the doctoral level. On the left, you can see some of the top universities worldwide, where where former Yenching scholars are currently working on their PhD. But the majority move into the professional stage of their life. Some go into government service, diplomacy, international organizations, consulting firms, you name it. Okay, as I move towards wrapping up my section of today's info session, I want to talk about applications. So the minimum requirement to be eligible to become a Yenching scholar is you have to finish your bachelor's degree by August 31st in the year you hope to enroll. So if you are currently in your last year of university, you can apply now. As long as you graduate and have your degree completed by the end of August of next year. Essentially, you can't become a graduate student until you've completed university. We do look for outstanding academic performance in our students. We are a competitive, academically focused graduate program. We're so much more than that, obviously, but it's also a big part of who we are at the Yenching Academy. Now, we don't have hard, sort of minimum GPA standards. It's not 3.95 out of 4, don't even apply, or first class with honors, or don't even apply. We don't work like that, but we do need to see excellence in the classroom. We're also interested to know more about you outside of the classroom, because when you join the Yenching Academy community, you're not just joining as a student. You will be living with your classmates. You will be in a wonderful but an intense and sometimes challenging cross-cultural environment. You'll be living in a different country with likely a language and cultural background that you're not really as familiar with, as of course, as your own, and in a different university administrative system. And so that can be a really intense environment. And so we want to know what kind of a person you are. We want people who are interested in or have experience in cross-cultural communication or, interacting with different people from around the world. We also want to know what your interests are. What things are important to you outside of the classroom? Are you an artist, or do you have a startup? Are you committed to charity work? These are things that we want to know about you, and think about how you can enrich our student community with your unique talents and unique talents and interests. We are a China-focused graduate program, so we want to know why you're interested in China. We appreciate students who have a demonstrated academic or professional or even personal connection to China. You don't have to be fully on your way to becoming a teaching and research professor related to China studies. But China is massive, influential, and is going to stay that way. There is a current discussion about China, and there's always going to be an important discussion about China going forward. You don't have to be a book publishing, future scholar of China studies to join our program, but we're making a big investment in our students, and we want people who we think will be part of the conversation about China going forward. We want people who are interested in having their career connect to China. If you think that's you, then we absolutely welcome your application. And just like any good graduate program or good job you're applying to, we want to know why. Why are you interested in coming to China? Why are you interested in studying with us? Where do you want to go in your career, and why do you think Yenching Academy can help you achieve those goals? Now, if you are a non-native English speaker and did not attend a university taught in English, we will need to see a certificate of English proficiency. Okay, applications are open now until December 3rd, 2023. You can find our application at apply.yca.pku.edu.cn. If you are at one of our 70 or so partner schools worldwide, and currently in Africa, that is currently only the University of Cape Town, you need to apply first to your home university. Applicants from partner schools submit their application first to their home university. The first round of admissions decisions are made there, and then those nominees are enter our application portal at the second stage in the application process. Please check our website to make sure whether or not your home university is a partner university of Yenching Academy. So again, we will need certificates of English proficiency if you're a non-native English speaker and your university isn't taught in English. We need a certificate of enrollment if you're currently enrolled in your bachelor program, and or we need diplomas from any degree granting institutions of higher education from which you've graduated. We have what's called an overseas credential evaluation. This is a process that you don't need to submit at the application stage, but essentially it's a clearinghouse service in the Chinese mainland that you submit your name, your year, the university you graduated from, like a scanned copy of your diploma or what have you, and then they go and certify that. So we have 2 essays. Oh, I forgot to mention, we need official transcripts of all degree granting institutions where you've studied. So your list of courses and grades. We have 2 essays in the application package. The first is the personal statement in English, maximum 750 words. This is essentially your cover letter to us. This is you telling us who you are, why you want to come to China, why you're interested in Yenching Academy, maybe what you think you can add to our program should you be admitted, where you want to go in your career, etc. We also have a statement of research interest. This is in English, maximum 1,500 words, excluding citations. And that's a big hint. Whenever you're applying to a graduate program and they have a research statement or a research proposal, or like we call it, a statement of research interest, you should contextualize your suggested research plan in secondary literature. So in reference to similar works done by other scholars. Now, this statement of research interest does not commit you to making that topic you discuss become your master's thesis, but it should be a forward-looking, formal academic document that tells us what you think you want to study at the graduate level at Yenching Academy. Please consider the statement of research interest the first step in a multi-year conversation that you will have with the faculty at Yenching Academy and Peking University that culminates in your master's thesis. It can be about one or a couple of topics, but don't spread yourself too wide, because then you won't be able to go to the necessary depth. We essentially want to begin to learn how you think about research by reading how you write about research. And please do not submit a research proposal from something you have already done. This is something that you want to do when you're at Yenching Academy. We also need your resume or your CV or curriculum vitae. And we need 2 reference letters. They must be academic references, and they must be from associate professors or full professors or higher. Now, if you have a lecturer, so if your system is the lecturer, senior lecturer, professor, et cetera, we know how it works. So, but assistant professors and instructors do not fulfill this requirement. This is the standard for top graduate programs in China. So the 2 letters, they must be academic references. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Here you can find our contact information. Reach out to us at yca-admissions@pku.edu.cn. If you have any questions, please go to our website, yenchingacademy.pku.edu.cn. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you use WeChat, you can find us there at Peking Daxue Yenching Xuetang, and you can add our official account to keep up with what's going on. Please look at our website, learn about the program, learn about the faculty advisors. You could even go look to other departments and schools at Peking University and think about who you might want to work with. That's always it shows good effort and preparation. But also, I really encourage you to look at the profiles of current Yenching scholars. You'll be able to see public bios for first and second year Yenching scholars currently in the program. I want you to look at them, and I think it should build your confidence, because by looking at their profiles, you get a real sense of the diversity of our student body. And I don't mean diversity necessarily in terms of national origin or cultural background. What I mean is the diversity in what they've done, where they're from, how they got to become a Yenching scholar, what they studied, what kind of work experience they had. When you do that, I think you'll realize that this is not a one-size-fits-all program, and there isn't a single profile of a successful applicant that we're looking for. So thank you all so much for your time and for your interest. Let me stop sharing my screen, if I can. I think my sharing should be over. So we're very fortunate to have 2 former Yenching scholars with us here today. One of them I know has to leave pretty quickly. So I think, Asma, are you ready to grab the microphone? I see your screen, but I don't hear. Oh, there you go. Now I hear you.
Okay,
yeah,
perfect. Let me just figure out this first. Full screen mode. And turn on my camera. Can you see me?
There we go. Now I can see you.
Okay. Hi.
Thanks.
I had planned to have this session done while I'm in Beijing, but unfortunately I had a last minute travel. So I'm doing this from Indonesia. So hi everyone, my name is Asma Bashir, and I'm one of the earliest Yenching scholars. So I was part of the 3rd cohort of Yenching Academy. And just gonna try to, okay. So I'm a 2017-2019 Yenching scholar. I was fortunate enough to receive the Chinese government scholarship, and I'm originally from Morocco, North Africa. And I think Yenching is at its 9th year, and I think I'm still the only Moroccan scholar within the program. As much as it is a privilege, I'd love to see more Moroccans, North Africans, and generally more Africans in the program. It's been one of the most amazing experiences, whether it's from an academic perspective or just the Yenching community. I still have some of my best friends actually are were some of my Yenching cohort scholars from 2017 to 2019. So my background in terms of undergrad studies were international business. So I had completed my business degree back in 2014 and had worked for 3 years before I decided to apply for graduate studies. And at the time, I had applied to two programs, Yenching Academy, because I was really interested in the rising power of China, the soft power of China, economically, politically, in the continent itself, and in worldwide, generally speaking. But also, I wanted to study water science. And so after receiving my letter of acceptance from Yenching, I decided to enroll in that program and defer my Oxford degree until I finish my Yenching program. After the program, and actually during the program, I was able to manage working as a consultant for the World Bank Water Practice. And post-program, post-Yenching, I continued working for the World Bank and the United Nations Environment Program on a wide range of water projects and climate change projects. And at the moment, I am working at the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which is a multilateral development bank based in Beijing. And the reason actually I got to know about AIB was through my program and my time at Yenching Academy. So during your time at Yenching Academy, you'll have the opportunity to hear and interact with different thought leaders, visit institutions like Brent had mentioned his presentation. And I think it left a good impression when I was at Yenching. And I decided to apply to work at the AIB as an investment operations associate. And I work in my field of interest and expertise, which is water resources management. And I cover projects in Southeast Asia and South Asia and the Pacific. And that's why I'm actually having this conversation from Indonesia today. Um, so, as I mentioned earlier, motivations to apply for YCA for me personally were just a general curiosity about China. I haven't studied about China before or have been to China. So, as a matter of fact, the first time I landed in China was when I actually got into YCA and I was going to do my master's program. But I just had this general fascination about the country, the culture itself, the language. I wanted to learn Chinese. So I did not speak a single word of Chinese when I first joined YCA, which was very hard and difficult at the beginning because once you get to China, realize everything actually is in Chinese. So it's very hard to navigate the country. But I received a lot of help from the faculty, from YCA staff, from the Chinese scholars of the program and also then the foreign scholars that actually spoke Chinese. So don't be afraid if intimidated by the language or the culture or the generally going into China as a first time for your first time to study the master's program. I've been there and I know that it's quite intimidating. There's a lot of uncertainty, but it's quite an adventure. And it actually I kind of fell in love with China in the process while I was going through all of these struggles. And also, I think for me, it was also looking at the possibility of meeting new people, the research opportunities that the program had offered, the generous funding. And once you go into the Yenching program, you'll find that you have a rich curriculum, right? And so I enrolled as an international relations and politics major, and I actually continued that major while you still had the opportunity while in the program at that time to switch your major once you've started your program and had other ideas or wanted to switch your major. So, and then on top of that, we had the opportunity to also, we had our mandatory courses, and then we also had all of these electives. And I've honestly had enjoyed, doing all of the classes, learning about the history, of Chinese religions, looking at the archaeology, the history of Silk Roads, and the cool thing about these courses was that you had field trips, travel opportunities embedded in the courses themselves. And obviously, another part that I actually enjoyed while being at Yenching was the Beida canteens. I've never actually had, before going to China, I've never tried or was a big fan of Chinese food, but um, Beida canteens actually changed my perspective. And it was also one of the reasons why I decided to move back, in 2022, because with this new job in China, I was like, I'll get to explore and take advantage of, living in Beijing and just enjoying the wide, diverse Chinese cuisine. The one important element I think that really made my Yenching experience really memorable is definitely the community of scholars, coming from different parts of the world, the thought-provoking conversations, the engagement with different professors, and just, we live together, we live together in the same dorms, we study together, and it so kind of became like one big family. When you get sick or like whenever you have any challenges, your community is there for you to support you. We also had our banjarens that were there to ready to help and support. And during my time, if you decide to apply, you have to work on your thesis, right? As part of your program to graduate. So I did my thesis on because I was an IR major. I did my thesis that combined more my interest in China as a country and also my passion for water resources management. And so I looked at water governance, and I did a comparative analysis between China and Australia. I looked at water rights systems, the institutional setup, regulations, and so forth. And I was fortunate enough to have a great mentor and a thesis supervisor, Chen Laoshe, who was very supportive throughout the process. And I'm still in touch with him. Um, so in terms of my suggestions for prospective students, I'd say it's important to pinpoint why China in your research, or and basically why you need to be in China to do that. And again, don't be afraid to don't be, I mean, afraid of the uncertainty, or don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't know the language, you've never been in China. I think those are things that I've always worried about. But then, as long as you make the case for your passion and interest and why you need to be part of the program, in order to do that, and why in China, basically, and why now, right? Why would you want to study in China next year and expand your current knowledge? And again, why the YCA program? I think it's important to outline your appreciation and aptitude for interdisciplinary and intercultural study, because once you step into the program, you'll discover that it's multidisciplinary, it's rich, different perspective, things that you've never thought of, different opinions. And so just keeping that in mind as well is important. And I think the final question is why you, right? Explore, as Brent said, I think it's very important to look at previous scholar profiles on the YCA website and make the case for what you could add to the next cohort of YCA scholars. And on that note, I would like to wish everyone good luck, and I do hope you decide to join the YCA family. I'm still a very proud member of the Yenching community. It has been part of my life for the last 6 or 7 years. So I do hope you get the chance to take part in that as well. Thank you.
Awesome, Asma. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experience and your advice to potential applicants here with us. I'm happy that you're not currently in Beijing, but I'm happy that you moved back to Beijing. I would be curious to hit you up and find out if there are any decent Moroccan restaurants in the city. I know there used to be a good
They're
one
not.
called Caravan, but that unfortunately closed down during COVID when my friend who ran the restaurant moved to Italy with his wife. Well, that's too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, no,
So
there
a
aren't
couple of things.
any. There aren't
Oh
any
man, that's
restaurants. I know, I know. There's only one called the Medina, and it's really Tunisian, not Moroccan. It's quite
okay.
different. So yeah. I'm thinking of opening a restaurant. There is a business opportunity there. So
There you go. Well, good luck with that. You should talk to me. My wife has opened one, and I can tell you some insider knowledge. But thanks. A couple of things I want to follow up on that you mentioned in your presentation. One, I really appreciate your emphasizing a sort of sense of adventure, because I think that's a great attitude to have when you go into applying to Yenching Academy, or in general of taking your first foray into living or studying or traveling to China. A sense of adventure is a really good attitude to have. You can still. You also mentioned that it's possible to switch your concentrations. That is still possible at YCA, but we've sort of standardized the process. So for the information of potential applicants, you can apply to switch your concentration at the end of your first year, but there's some conditions you have to meet. First, you need to find a thesis advisor in the field into which you're trying to switch, but that's not enough. You also need to have a letter of support from another professor, not your thesis advisor, in the field that you're switching into, who says, I know this person, they've taken my classes, or we've spoken, and they need to attest to your academic capabilities in the field you're switching into. Basically, we want to avoid you developing a good relationship with one professor and that professor saying, yeah, okay, sure. Also, we will look again at your complete academic record when you're applying to switch, including the courses you've taken at YCA and at Peking University. So if you're considering potentially switching your research areas, if you think that's a possibility, then I encourage you to take some courses in the research area you might want to switch to, so you can increase the level of your sort of foundational knowledge in that field. So great, thanks so much, Asma. I have a couple.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we have lost our other alumnus who was going to share with us. Chris Newby is off the meeting, and we've been unable to get in touch with him. So I think now we're just going to move into the Q&A section.
Yes. Hi, Brent. Hi, Prof.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, just before, just Brett, if I may add just
Please.
one last point, before I leave the floor to my fellow alumni. But one other thing is that, even though I showed up in China not knowing Chinese, and I left the YCA community, I mean, not the YCA community, oh God, no, the YCA program, with limited Chinese, it kind of triggered me to also pursue learning the language after I've left China. So I actually dedicated 1 year studying in Taiwan, traditional characters Chinese, which was also another completely different experience. But it's just, the YCA experience in China overall kind of like triggers all of these things in you, and pushes you to further explore and push your boundaries. So I know my way around a little bit Chinese, so I feel proud. So I couldn't have done that if it wasn't for my time at Yenching.
Excellent. Well, keep
something
it
I
up.
wanted to add.
Keep studying Chinese. It's not
a lot
something
learning
you can
journey.
ever stop.
I
Yeah.
know. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Asma. Chris, so happy that you're here with us. So I think we'll turn the floor over to you.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning. I'm currently at work doing my internship at the New Development Bank in Shanghai. So hilariously, Asma's from Morocco and I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, and she's at the AIB and I'm at the New Development Bank. But yeah, hello everyone. Nice to meet you, and great opportunity to kind of tell you a bit about my experience at the Yenching Academy so far. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Thanks. So just a brief bit about me. So I'm in part of the 8th cohort, the 2022-2024 cohort, in my second year of study. I'm from South Africa, Cape Town. And previously, before arriving, I completed a BA in History and Law. Then I did a law degree and I did a master's in International Law, all at UCT. Yeah, and then after I graduated, I worked for just under a year as a research assistant in the public law department, and then I came to ICA, and now I'm currently doing an internship for the director of the corporate secretariat at the New Development Bank in Shanghai. Yeah, and just briefly as an idea, these were my research interests that I applied with and what I've currently developed while at my time at YCA, mainly looking at labor trends, shifting things around the fourth industrial revolution, that kind of stuff, as well as IR and international law and development studies around BRICS as a South African, and having very keen interest in South Africa-China relations. Yeah, go to the next slide. Right, so my motivation to apply to ICA. Well, firstly, I think, as Professor Haas has unpacked, it is a really comprehensive and great scholarship opportunity. What you get, the quality, everything, it's really world class, just to start off with. It's also a fairly rare opportunity as a postgraduate scholar to have this much readily available funding for actual field research in China. So just those two right off the bat. And then, yeah, so for me, I have been trying to get to China for a while, but COVID had kept me out. I actually had my, you'll know this if you come, you get a JW202 form to come to China. And then South Africa found the Omicron variant and we got blacklisted. And I was a week away from leaving to come to China. So I previously had done 6 months intensive Mandarin courses online, unfortunately. And then, yeah, I was really excited to kind of get to China, get to Beijing, and continue that process of learning. And I mean, there's never an end point, as Prof has already alluded to, but really just to improve my language. But also, my previous degree and my master's thesis had looked at China, had looked at Africa, and more on trade and labor stuff and that kind of thing. So I was really just, I was reading the science and I was like, right, China's not going anywhere, as Prof said. And Africa and China are kind of joined at the hip at this point. And South Africa, China, with BRICS and the expansion of BRICS and development of BRICS as this emerging other sphere in international relations and global politics. I was like, this is an amazing opportunity to really throw yourself at the adventure of get to China, learn the language, meet people, and really get to know it. Yeah, so that was kind of, broadly speaking, my general motivation to apply for YCA. You can go to the next slide. So the experience-wise, so I'm still in it, I guess. So I might have a very similar takes, but I was more in the current tense. In terms of the coursework, so as you could tell from my previous degrees, I had been very law focused. So law degree, law was a minor in my BA, and then an international law master's. So I really welcomed the opportunity to kind of stay in the law track. I was in the law and society track. Sorry, I should have said that from the outset. But I could take all these electives. And the one thing that struck me with my cohort was I was culturally illiterate about China. I knew a little bit about Chinese history, but I knew nothing of art. I knew nothing of music. I knew nothing of poetry. And what I really, really loved was this the opportunity to take a course called Art in China. And what essentially it was a history course or telling of the dynastic eras of China through the lens of significant art and important pieces of art and methods of creation of art through that time period. And it's been one of the, quite hilariously, one of the courses that have stuck with me the most because it's the most relevant whenever I go to museums, whenever I go to galleries. Now I actually know why something is important. I actually know a little bit about something. But that is just something that is just a really rich exposure outside of the law courses I took, on the international development courses I took, just as an example of the really interdisciplinary nature of the program. The other thing that I really can't emphasize enough is just how amazing the friendships you develop are through this program. It's a very tight-knit group. We live in the same building. We do all these courses together. We travel together. For me specifically, we arrived during lockdown. We were one of the first batch of international students to arrive in the country, and we went through just under a month of quarantine together. And when we emerged from that and recovering from that, we kind of just bonded really, really profoundly. And I've made amazing lifelong friends through this program. And then again, I put a picture of a panda there. It's probably selling the trip short. It really is an amazing field study opportunity to go and immerse yourself in a rich history of China. It's such a vast place. And just amazing opportunities. So then, in terms of my personal research, I looked at the gig economy and workers and their experiences. So I had a bunch of people in our cohort, and we, for a good while, we just collected interviews with DD drivers or just taxi drivers in general around Beijing and in different districts of Beijing, and kind of had a going questionnaire of their lived experiences and how they engage with the apps, how they engage with their work life, what kind of their lived experiences are. And yeah, we collected a pretty large sum of data there and could present on it. And it was really, 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 for me, the first exposure to actual, I would say, postgraduate field study research. And then, yeah, so you got a photo of me doing shot put there. I must admit, I'm a bit older than a lot of the other cohort members. I hadn't done any sort of collegiate kind of sport in years, well on nearly 10 years. So, I mean, in terms of student life, you really are, you're living on Beida campus. So you can get involved in all of the extracurricular activities for just get involved and have some fun. Yeah, and it's really been said, but yeah, great Chinese food. I mean, you go on campus, off campus, you just taste everything and explore. Yeah, and you can get immersed into the festivities, Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, activities such as calligraphy. Yeah, and I think the more you travel around China, the more you realize that it's just such a endlessly fascinating place, a true movable feast of for the senses, in the sense that you've got history, and when I say history, I mean thousands of years of history, and then just this bustling metropolis and modern, shiny new thing. I mean, I'm in Shanghai at the moment, and it wasn't much to speak about a few hundred years ago, and now you come to it and you're blown away. And that's just one example. Yeah, so that's, you can go to the next slide. So yeah, it's for any prospective applicants. What are you thinking of? What advice would I give you? Things to reflect on and really come to terms with before putting your best foot forward. Yeah, basically, I would kind of like say, why are you interested in China? It is a China-focused program. Everything you do is related on China. So are you really interested in it? If you are, in what respects? What goals are you trying to achieve? Really try grapple with that, because I think if you come to a good concrete answer, really make sure your proposal and your application just really sing. I think if you know what you're talking about, you're not coming in with all these vague ideas that could be nice, but you really you know yourself, and you kind of know what you're wanting. And in terms of why now, I think that kind of lends itself to that as well. Like, what in this stage of your life, what looking forward and now, what are you trying to get? What would you get from this program? How would it enrich you? How would it benefit you? Is it a short-term goal of just perhaps like seeing China, getting to China? Is it a longer-term goal of starting a career related to China? Or starting the ever long process of learning the language, perhaps? And then if those are your goals, you could achieve those in other places. So why YCA? Why YCA as opposed to an alternative? I would say really think on like the interdisciplinary nature. I would say it's really beneficial, particularly if you've done a more focused, narrow view degree before you arrive. Think of what you can get from that, really just putting you've got literature students, you've got art students, you've got political finance people, you've got law students, and you just shove us all in a room and make us engage on the current issues of the world and of China. And it really is a rich playing field. Yeah, so again, and if you're reading all this and you think, okay, why me? And then you know, what can I bring to this program? I really think that it's already been said by Asma, but I really think that Global South and developing world representation of YCA goes so far. I mean, I know this is the Africa regional panel, and I'm here as a white guy, but I really think that when we talk about these issues, when we talk about the big issues facing the world, our voices really sing louder. They do. I think that it's such an important aspect to that you just kind of own the value you bring to a program like this, with your positionality, with your lived experience. And if you look at Prof has already alluded to this, but if you look at the profiles, you'll see everyone comes from different backgrounds, everyone comes from different fields of study. Some are at universities you've never heard of, some are at universities that like terrify you, and you just kind of really got to put your best foot forward and realize, no, I'm part of this group. I'm worthy to be in part of this group, and I really encourage you to do that, because it is true. Yeah. And good luck, really. Thank you. That's all I have for today.
Thanks, Chris. Sorry, for some reason I thought you'd already graduated. Maybe because you look older and perhaps are older than some Yenching scholars. Maybe you're just so smart and mature that must be it. Excellent. Well, really appreciate your sharing about your experiences. Gosh, it's amazing that it was only last year that that you still had to quarantine to come into the country. The experience of COVID, I don't know, I can't compare with anywhere else in the world, but the experience with COVID in China for the whole time in China just does weird things to your memory of, when did something happen? It's just very strange. We have some questions that have been waiting, and a couple of them are sort of connected here. So I'd like to address them sort of one by one, but also a little bit together. We have one student or one potential applicant asking about the alignment of their academic and professional background and the research area to which they're applying or intending to apply. And so both of these questions are like this. One person asked a question saying they're interested in politics, but they have professional experience in marketing and communication. And the other person is asking, said they have a bachelor's degree in international business and trade, but they're also interested in politics and international relations at YCA. And their question in general is this going to be a problem, or how do I approach this? No, it's not necessarily going to be a problem for both of these. But what it boils down to is in your application package, how you frame your experience, whether it's academic training, professional experience, with what you suggest you might want to focus on and study when you're at YCA. So for the person who sent a message in the chat, who is interested in politics but has professional experience in marketing and communication, so right there, you could leverage your marketing and communication experience and expertise to perhaps suggest a research project that looks at politics from a marketing and communications perspective. That, if that's what you end up doing, and I'm just sort of thinking off the top of my head, that can be a very persuasive story that connects what you've done to what you want to study, and can be a fresh way of looking at, Chinese politics or Chinese international relations through a marketing and communications perspective. That to that same person, you don't mention what you studied in your previous academic background. So that I don't know where that fits in, but, I think this is one way you could think about how to present your professional experience and connect it to politics, if that's what you end up choosing to apply to. We will also look, whatever your degree is in, we will look at the courses you've taken. And so that sort of connects to the other person's question, who has a bachelor's in international business and trade. This person took a course on international relations, but it was called international trade, and finishes with the question, should I notify, explain in the additional information? Yes, you should explain, but you don't have to do it in the additional information. You can do it in your statement of or your personal statement, or you can do it in your statement of research interest. Tell us, why you're interested in studying this and why you think you are prepared for it. And that goes for anyone. If there is an apparent lack of connection, and I just mean an apparent lack of connection between your degrees, what you've studied, where you've worked, and what you want to focus on at YCA, your research area you're applying to, just anticipate that we might have some questions about that and try to address those questions in your application packages. Because, remember, we have a bunch of parts of our application that are required, but they're really, the academic transcript, the grades and the courses you took and the grades, the letters of recommendation, these are things that you can't control. They've already happened. But your personal statement, your statement of research interest, and your resume are within your control. So you need to think about these. I mean, this is part of one application package, but they should emphasize different parts of your profile. They need to be connected, but they should emphasize different aspects of your strengths. Definitely do not just repeat, your resume in your personal statement. That's never a good thing to do for any job application. But there will be space in these areas of the application and the essays that you can control, where you can explain why you think you are well suited for this research area at Yenching Academy. We have a question about the sort of the timeline. So what happens after the deadline, the application deadline on December 3rd? Well, we go into full-on application review mode. Very, very busy next couple of months for us at the admissions office at Yenching Academy. We will be, China has a long winter break this year that I think is starting in mid to late January and going to mid to late February. Unfortunately, we are not able to do all of our interviews before the winter break. So we have two time frames in which we can do interviews. It'll be late December through mid to late January, and then right after we come back from the winter break. So it could be late February or early March. So what we do is we do a intensive application review. Then we invite students to become finalists and have a 20-minute interview online with myself and 4 other Peking University faculty members, professors who are connected to Yenching Academy. Those who pass the interview are then offered admission. So you will hear back after your interview fairly quickly. We try to send out a round of initial offers after our first window of interviews ends right before winter break takes place in mid to late January. Then we do another round of interviews with different applicants. We interview after the break, and we send out initial offers very soon after that. Then in April, Peking University sends out the formal letter of admission. So when Yenching Academy tells you you're in the program, you're in the program. But we have a process that PKU goes through, and you'll get another formal notification from them in April. But if you are one of those who do an interview in the first round, the first window for interviews, you will probably most likely hear. If you get an offer, you will hear an offer very quickly. But if you haven't been interviewed or you haven't received an offer of admission, there's still that late February, early March timeframe. So the game is not over until we finish all of our interviews in March. Okay, so we have a question. What advice would you give for writing a strong research proposal? Well, that's a big question, and that's hard to answer in the abstract, but I'll try to. First, you need to have a good command. You need to be informed about this topic. So you should do some previous work, some reading in the topic you're interested in. It should be something, a good statement of research interest is sort of going to give a broad context, narrow down to the issue or topics you're interested in studying, should tell us why this is important, should contextualize the topic that you're interested in studying by referring to other scholars who've written on it. Maybe it's the exact same thing, and you disagree with one scholar, or maybe scholars have talked about things near what you're interested in, but not exactly what you're focused on. But you need to engage with the writings of other academics on your topic. Then you can potentially suggest some ways that you might try to answer these questions or explore this topic. Are there any theories or methodologies that you're interested in? Are you thinking about doing archival research? Are you going to be doing online surveys? Do you need to interview people? These are things that you need to think about, different ways that you want to try to get answers to the research questions that you're proposing. I also recommend that you reach out to any academic mentors you have. Are there any professors that you've worked closely with? Perhaps the people who are writing your letters of recommendation. I suggest that you discuss with them what you're thinking about writing for your statement of research interest. I suggest you show drafts of your essay to them and let them give you feedback on that. It's very important to not just keep it all in your head and only be in conversation with yourself. Share the thoughts you're having, share the actual essay you have with intellectuals or teachers or professors whom you respect and who you think would be willing to give you good advice to help improving that. I hope that helps answer your question. It's hard to give any more specifics when I'm really not sure what you're actually interested in focusing on. But again, it is a formal piece of academic writing. It does not commit you to it being your master's thesis. Any other questions? If someone has a question, if you want to start typing, or you can sort of digitally raise your hand so I know that you're about to start typing a question. Okay, I see someone typing right now. Excellent. We heard from both of the Yenching scholars who shared with us today. It's interesting that neither of them had very strong backgrounds of academic engagement with China. And we have a real mix of students who are, have done Asian studies or Chinese language degrees, with people who've maybe taken a year of Chinese and a few extra courses and are interested but really want to focus now. And then people who've never engaged with China academically or intellectually at all, but now are interested in doing so. And personally, I like that. I like having not only diversity in terms of cultures and regions where people are from, but different levels of intellectual engagement, different levels of experience related to China, all in the classroom together. Because if everyone had zero experience with China, or everyone were all, East Asian studies majors, then the conversation would get sort of boring. If you've all read the same books, if you've all studied the same thing, or nothing at all, then people maybe will have the similar reactions to the readings assigned, the lectures that professors give, the discussion topics. When you have different levels of intellectual experience related to China, I think it makes for a better conversation. Okay, we have a question about academic letters of recommendation. Those are important parts of a graduate school application. We don't, I can't really tell you that it is 15% of, our total decision. It's not weighted like that, but it is important. So there are ways that I think you could consider trying to improve those letters. Perhaps you could reach out to the professors who will be writing the letters for you again, have more conversations with them, show them the essays and show them your application materials, your personal statement, your statement of research interest, and your CV. Make sure they have that so that they can refer to it when they write the letters for you. That's a good bit of advice for any time you need a letter of recommendation, whether it's for a job or a graduate school. When you ask someone to write you a letter, you should share whatever materials you have, like your CV, like your personal statement, etc. So I think discussing with them a little bit more and trying to reach out to improve their understanding of you and their understanding of the program. Because it's, when a professor writes a letter of recommendation, knowing what the Yenching Academy is, knowing what you're interested in doing here, they're able to write a stronger letter of recommendation than simply saying, yes, I know this person. They were in my classes. They're very, very smart. Please let them in. It's better when they can say, Yenching Academy's 2-year interdisciplinary China Studies program is exactly perfect for this student. This student has been interested in China, but has been unable to travel there. I think that their proposed course of study and the research topics they want to work on will be helpful, and have them talk a little bit more about what you're actually suggesting you'll do when you're here. That can be very helpful. I hope that helps. We have another question in here. This person noticed that very few students from Africa get into Yenching. Is that they don't apply or they don't make it to the interview and to the final stage? Actually, it's all of the above. I mean, I think we don't get enough applications from Africa to satisfy me. I mean, I would like to have more. So it's certainly an issue of numbers. But it's also, the African students who do apply, some get admitted, some, get an interview but don't get admitted, some don't get interviews. So it really isn't an either or. No one's applying or they don't make it to the interview stage. It's all different kinds of people apply and they make it to different stages in the process. But I do really think that more applicants we can get, the chances of us getting more admitted students from Africa will certainly rise. Part of that is because we don't really have enough institutional relationships with universities in the African continent. And that's what I'll be doing in the spring, going there, meeting professors, telling them about, also telling students, but telling professors who work related to China or international relations about our program so that they know who we are. And so that the professors themselves can perhaps identify people who might be interested in applying, pull you aside after class and say, hey, I know you're sort of interested in China. There's this really good master's program. You should look into it. So that's something that I'm going to try to improve on my end. So I think the last question here, I'm going to have to end because I have another meeting coming up. But a question said, someone made a mistake by typing my reference email through the platform. Is there any means to resend it? I would think so to this student. Please reach out to us at about this problem. Or send an email to our admissions office email, yca-admissions@pku.edu.cn. Tell us exactly what the problem is, and we can hopefully. One more question. Pardon my curiosity. Does it mean students that get interviewed in January can get admission offers and be in China in March or after the winter break? No. All students, everyone's course of study begins at the end of August or the start of September. We go on the beginning of the academic year, fall semester first, spring semester second. So it's just, this is when we do the admissions. You'll get an offer, but you're not able to, even if you got an offer in, say, late January, you cannot get your visa and cannot come begin your course of study with us until September of the following year. Absolutely. We encourage Yenching scholars to take courses outside of the Yenching Academy in other departments and schools at Peking University. The professors who teach our courses come from other departments and schools, but we will have a list of all courses offered in English at most humanities and social science related departments at PKU. And as long as there's space in the courses, you're able to attend those. Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and your attention on this Friday afternoon, now Friday evening here in Chengdu. I hope that you have learned a lot. I hope that you're interested in considering applying to Yenching Academy. I think, you know, very brief wrap up, I would say, you know, we don't tell any Yenching scholars what to think about China. The Yenching scholars are too smart. They're too confident to ever be told what to think. You will have your views challenged. From professors, from readings, from other Yenching scholars. That's a part of what makes this program so special. That's where intellectual growth really takes place. We want you to become a Yenching scholar and to be future experts, connectors between China and the rest of the world. We also want you to have a really good time. It's a wonderful adventure and a great opportunity. I can't promise that we'll change your life, but I'm pretty sure that becoming a Yenching scholar will change the course of your career. Awesome. It's been a real pleasure chatting with everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing your application soon. So thank you all very much. Reach out to us if you have any more questions, and we hope to see you soon in Beijing.